Welcome folks to the Podman community meeting. Today is April 7th, 2026. We don't have a whole lot on the calendar, or not on the calendar, but on the agenda today. So if you have topics, I'd love to have them, or if you have just some open-ended questions, that'd be great as well. I will ask that if you are talking at some point during the meeting, that you go ahead and put your video on if at all possible. If it's not possible, don't sweat it too much, but if you can just turn it on, it makes it better for the video recording after the fact. And with that, I'm going to ask Paul, could you start out with the configuration changes that are coming up?
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything prepared, but we can talk a bit about the Podman 6 config file changes that I have been working on over the past months already. So we are going to change in the way we parse storage.conf, registry.conf, containers.conf, registry dd, policy.json, and the search.d directory. And the main goal is just unification of these behaviors. If you have used Podman with and set custom config files, then you are probably aware that the storage.conf and registry.conf and containers.conf all did some things differently. So the good news there is that will no longer be the case, and you will have a hopefully well-defined ordering how this works. And like, if you know how storage.conf works, you should pretty much be able to understand the other files as well and don't need to second guess everything. Yeah, so far containers.conf has been ported to the new logic. Storage.conf has been ported. There's one thing to point out for developers or users compiling Podman from main. If you use the current binary from main, since it uses the new storage.conf logic, there's a conflict with the old config file that Podman 5.8 is using, so it will fail. The rootless Podman will fail because it reached the graph root and run root values out of the config file, and they are hard-coded to varlib containers and run containers respectively. So you will get permission errors that might look a bit weird if you encounter that, but the fix is quite simple. You pretty much need to either delete the old storage.conf file that is on your system, or you can overshadow it by creating the etc containers storage.conf file with just an empty file, basically, or exactly an empty file, and then it will work again. So this is like just something to be aware of if you're using Podman from main. Once Podman 6 is released, all the packaging with the config files and everything will take care of moving stuff around. So that users shouldn't really see that if they use packaged versions. Unless, of course, they have manually edited storage.conf with some of these values, then they might encounter that. But I will write some documentation and some blog post about these changes in detail, and then should be some instructions what to do, how to move these things to make it work with the new logic. Yeah, so far I'm still working on registry.conf, but progress is happening there and should be done hopefully in 2 weeks when we want to start cutting Podman 6 RC1. That's basically about it.
Any questions for Paul? Right. Paul, I just had a quick one. Is there going to be any automation provided for this? for these kind of changes, or is it going to be just guides?
So far, basically, since currently each file sort of did it differently, the current plan is to have a single main page that describes the new logic and that then applies to all the different files. So that should be the central documentation. And as part of like migration and stuff, there will also be a blog post, but that might take a bit longer than the 2 weeks of development to write.
Okay, great. Last call for questions for Paul on this. Okay, then, Matt, do you want to hop in with the KubeCon report, and Ashley too, if you have anything to add, or anybody else who's there?
Sure. So, excuse me. This one will hopefully be pretty quick. Podman was in attendance at KubeCon 2 weeks ago. Can you hear me, Tom? Am I?
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Excellent. All right. So we were in attendance at KubeCon. We gave 2 talks. One on some recent work that's been going on in Netavark that an intern had been doing, and one by Ashley about containerizing AI workloads using Podman, Ramalama, and then eventually converted over to Minikube. And we were also in attendance at the Project Pavilion. So those talks should be coming up on YouTube relatively quickly, somewhere within the next week. I think they're going to publish the things, so people will be able to view them if they weren't at the event. I'll say that it was great seeing everyone who was there, and we got some good pointers on moving forward within the CNCF. So hopefully you'll see us making some strides towards incubating in the CNCF soon. Ashley, anything you want to add to that, or?
Nothing in particular, but yeah, it was great seeing like the community face to face. So it was a good time.
Right, any questions or anybody else want to add? Nope. Okay. Matt, we have the third topic for the open meetings. Did you want to discuss that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
What-
So as part of our evolution within the CNCF, we are going to be trying to open up the development process more. We've been running these community meetings and also the community cabals you might be familiar with for years at this point. I want to say probably at least 3-4 years. But we're not really feeling like we're getting as much community involvement in development as we'd really like. So what I think is definitely going to happen is, one, we're going to open up more of our meetings. Right now, for example, we have I think once monthly sprint demo meetings. We're going to open those up to the whole community, so anyone who wants to can submit demos, and we'll have recordings of those if you can't make them in person, obviously. But yeah, one, sprint demos are going to be happening. Two, we're also going to be trying to move over to more frequent but shorter meetings. So right now we have these big community meetings once every 2 months, taking a full hour, topic submitted in advance, et cetera, et cetera. What we're trying to move over to is a model that we've seen other projects having success with, where we have much more frequent weekly meetings, but much shorter, half hour blocked off, but they could end after 15 minutes. And they're going to be much less formal. There'll be an agenda, but a lot of it will be people dropping in if they need help with PRs, could be developers just discussing things like design discussions. So generally speaking, I think we're going to try and move away from these very infrequent formal meetings. We might still have some, but we're going to we're going to have a lot more frequent and a lot more open meetings, and try and do more of our discussion in the open during them. We have a core maintainers meeting as well, where all of the core Podman and Build a Scopio maintainers get together and discuss topics of import for the project. Those are currently not open to the public, and we're not planning on changing that, but we're going to get better about doing recordings about those, having the ability to view them after the fact. All right. That's about it for our current plans. I don't know exactly when this is going to roll out. I would expect us to start putting a lot more stuff on our CNCF calendar within the next 2 weeks. I don't know what exact form that's going to take. Like, are we going to immediately open the sprint demos, or is that going to take a couple more weeks? I don't know. But I would expect the more frequent meetings to start appearing relatively quickly.
Sounds great. Anybody else have any questions or comments? What a quiet bunch today. All right, that's all the formal topics that we had today. We didn't have a whole lot. So I'm going to go ahead at this point in time, open it up to any questions or comments that people have or would like to make.
Yes, I have two small topics for today.
Sure.
The first one is about the Flatcar project. For everyone who doesn't know, Flatcar is backed by the CNCF, and it's an operating system specifically for the usage with containers. And they have some extensions. And these extensions are, for example, for Containerd or Docker, but they also have an extension for Podman. Currently, you can see it over here. They don't have a documentation for the Podman integration or Podman extension, but there's an open issue on GitHub, and I poked the contributor, and he said he will add it this week. So hopefully the community can better use Podman with the Flatcar project. So I will keep an eye on that and will tell you if there's any progress about that.
Awesome.
And the second topic is about the Podlet project. In the last release, we had our Podlet was compatible with Podman 5.0, 5.3, and we currently try to establish the next version 5.8. And until the end of April, we want to release another version of Podlet. So hopefully everyone can get Podman 5.8 and also Podlet on the same system, and everything should hopefully work well. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Any questions for Martin on this? Okay, and any other questions that folks might have or comments? And while you're thinking about that, I'll just go over quickly the dates that we have currently with the proviso that it might change as we go on down, and we'll notify you if it does. But currently we have a meeting for June 2nd for the Podman community meeting, 11 o'clock Eastern again, UTC 4. And then our next Cabal meeting is scheduled for May 5th, also on a Tuesday and at the same time. Last call for questions, comments.
I've got an update on the Materia project. I don't know if got a few, quick 2 slides for that. I don't know if could do that now or save it for June.
No, this sounds like a good time. If you have the slides and you're ready to go, go for it.
Cool. Yeah, let me quickly change the name to Spring Update. And all right, let me share my screen. All right. Does everyone see my screen and also me?
Yes, both are working great. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. A lot easier than last time I did this. All right. Where's the bloody starts? There we go. Yeah, so this is hi, yeah, I'm Steve Ryan. A few months ago I presented the Materia project, which is it's a GitOps tool for installing Podman Quadlets. This is just a brief summary for anyone who hasn't heard of it or didn't see it. Quick overview. It's yeah, it's a GitOps continuous deployment tool. It sits on the server, pings well, usually a Git repository, but a few other sources for what quadlets and data files are supposed to be assigned to the host. And it installs the quadlets, removes them, updates them. It has a templating language, and it starts up any services required by them. Obviously the containers themselves, but also any other defined system D targets, timers. Um, yeah, any of that, and it can also now handle cleaning up or either ensuring system podlet resources or podman resources are on the host or cleaning them up once they're done. But yeah, so this is, I believe back in December, I just kind of demonstrated version 4.2, I believe was what was out. We're now up to 6.3. So a few updates I just wanted to talk about a little bit. The biggest one is thanks to a community edition, Materia can now use OCI images as its source repository. I guess there's a couple people out there using Nix with this and are generating their component repositories as OCI images and installing them like that. I think that's really cool. Nix, scares me, but it's I know people are doing cool stuff with it, but anyway, so you can now basically describe your entire like state of quadlet objects, store in OCI image, and Materia will take it down or pull it down and install it as needed. And Materia also supports what's called remote components. So similar to Ansible roles, Puppet modules, any type of configuration package. And those are defined the same way as repositories. So you can now also package a individual service as quadlets in an OCI image. And since Materia also supports build objects, you can also build that object with Materia to be used by Materia in a really sort of Ouroboros loop. I don't think anyone's doing that yet, but I hope someone does. I might if no one does. Second, it's since Materia now uses systemd one-shot transient units to run what's called setup and cleanup scripts. So occasionally, you're installing an application that's defined as quadlets, but you need to do some type of setup or tear down. I always think of the Gitio or Forjo, requires you to set up the Git user on the host, regardless if you do it in container or not. Well, Materia supports that with setup and cleanup scripts, and those are now properly contained within systemd units, which I thought was cool. It now also supports dynamic timeouts. So if you have a container that's built off another image or build unit quadlet on the host, Materia will take that into account when waiting for it to start up and adjust the timeouts accordingly. It'll just give it some extra time in general, but you can also manually define the timeouts if for some reason an image is going to be huge or something. And now originally it's just handled the actual quadlet files. Now Materia will actually ensure it will clean up Podman resources if desired once the quadlet is gone, because deleting the quadlet doesn't delete the Podman resource, and it can also ensure that was supposed to be on there. It'll actually also ensure that Podman resources are created independent of the systemd unit. For example, if you start a volume quadlet, the systemd unit will only ensure that volume is created, and then it's a one-shot unit, so it'll just exist there as, oh, you have created the volume at some point. Sometimes you might, add and remove volumes at a rapid pace, and systemd might not be up to date, and it will say that, oh yeah, the volume service is run, that volume is created, don't worry about it, and there's no volume. Materia now handles that situation and will make sure that volumes, networks, etc., are actually on the host no matter what systemd says. And then finally, just a more of a fun thing. I've been following the quadlet command and the quadlets file and stuff like that, and I thought it's neat. And so now Materia can actually also understand quadlets files and will expand it itself. So you can this is configurable if you want to just pass it through, but so you can use quadlets files, and it will also generate the Podman quadlet command style .app files in case you want to install it through Materia, but also still list and remove it through the Podman quadlet command. These are all done independently of the Podman binding. So for a brief period, Materia supported the quadlets file before Podman did, which I was amused me. And then just what's coming up. Biggest thing is a few people have talked to me about implementing rollbacks, and similar to what Podman auto update does with the health check, but since Materia knows the entire state of it, it can apply a git rollback or stuff like that. So hopefully Materia could be sort of self-healing there. I want to expand the remote component system. Like I said, some people are using it as they're generating OCI images of these components, these collection of quadlet files, and I want to, create some type of registry for that. I Other projects using the Materia base, I've actually been working on something called Athenor, which I decided not to present today. A, and K, it's still a little rough around the edges, and B, it's most of the fun stuff of that isn't directly Podman related. But Athenor is a backup tool. It uses the Materia's publicized packages to plan out and handle dumping and importing volumes. So it will know to stop the containers, dump the volume, then restart the stop containers and whatever else defined. And then finally, I'm looking for. I'm very jealous of the Orcus project's very nice logo, and I want Materia to have a nice logo like that. But there's no artistic bone in my body, so that's a little on the lower priority. But looking for that. And yeah, that's all I got. Just wanted to give a quick update since some people were interested back in December. Any questions?
Not for me, but thanks for bringing this up and doing the presentation today. If you could send me your slides later,
Yeah.
Steve, I'd appreciate it. And opening it up to questions for anybody else.
Yes, two questions.
Mhm.
The first one, or at least I want to say thank you for that because I really want to try that with Flatcar in the future. That
Mm.
being said, do you know that there's another project that tries to achieve the same thing you're also doing here? Maybe you want to have a talk with that guy. It's the project Quadlet Man. So let's see how you also implement the features like he does and so on. So nice contribution at least. Let's see how it's going on in the future with both projects. And the second one is how do you handle compose files? So if someone uses a compose.yaml file from another project and he wants to integrate that with Podman, do you have something to convert it, or do you want to convert that in the future to Quadlets?
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for the question. It's funny. Yeah, compose files I think are out of the direct spec for Materia. I think, compose is it's a good format and it deserves, its own ecosystem. I actually do personally use, I've been playing around with Podlet to convert a compose file into quadlet files and then compress them into a single .quadlets file and then use Materia to install it to kind of work as a pseudo quadlet native compose. I don't really know how useful it is, but that's what I've been doing. But yeah, I think it is. I prefer to personally. I think it compose as a more development tool. So and Materia is more for the actual deployment level. So it's It's out of scope. I've got ideas in the future, but nothing for separate tools using the Materia baseline similar to that Athenor, the backup tool, but nothing concrete.
Mhm.
And I did see that other project. I am keeping an eye on. There's a lot of projects out there that we're all trying to solve the
Cool.
Quadlet system our own ways, which I think is neat.
Yeah, cool. Due to the fact that I'm working on the Podlet project, the
Hmm.
maintainer and core developer is Paul Nettleton, and he also wants to create a library of the Podlet projects that can be integrated into other projects. So maybe keep an eye on this issue and the other issue number 20, because maybe in the near future we will release a library, and if you want to, you can use that. So you can also create Quadlet files out of Compose
Hmm.
files. So maybe that's easy way to get your project even um, on track for other users that want to use Docker Compose files and so on.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I will definitely take a look at that.
Mhm.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
Great. Any other questions or comments for Steve? And ready? Then one last call for any questions or comments in period. Oh, Steve, you're being asked if you could share your email or if you want to send to me and I can forward it along to Gerald. If you,
Oh yeah, sure. I'll drop in the chat and I'll also send the slides and tag my email onto it when I
yeah, I
do
was
so.
just going to ask if you could put your email somewhere on the slide so people can get a hold of you. That'd be awesome.
Oh, and last question. Do you also use Discord so we can reach out on you over there?
Oh yeah, I'm in Discord. I'm also in the Podman Matrix chat.
Cool. Maybe you can say hello again so we can see your name over there. That would be great.
Yeah, sounds good.
Ready. One last call. Otherwise, I'm going to say off to lunch and or dinner, depending on where you're at. Right, folks, that's it for today. Thanks so much.